Welcome to the pit of sadism. He forced a man into frozen water, demanded a dead duck. When the man uttered a complaint, Uday shot him in the legs. Years later, he removed that man's tongue, surgically, then smiled for a family photo. This is not fiction. This is Uday Hussein. Brace yourself. This story goes beyond standard depravity. Born into power, but raised in cruelty. Born around 1964 into Iraq's ruling family, Uday was spoiled, pampered, but emotionally and psychologically fractured. As a child, executions were his lullaby. Political enemies hung from cranes, publicized as puzzles of power. To him, they were bedtime tales. He didn't play with toys, but grenades instead. At school, he collected stories of torture, memorized them, obsessed, and when the internet came, it became his personal torture catalog. He was a student of suffering, but his real apprenticeship in barbarism began not in prisons, but in palace ballrooms. Savage spectacle at parties. Uday's parties were lethal, glamorous nightmares. Guests were forced to drink the Uday cocktail, a lethal mix of whiskey, brandy, vodka, cognac, and beer within 10 minutes. Refuse, your hair, eyebrows, dignity, all vanished in public. A singer once sang to a bullet-riddled ceiling. Another was shoved into a cage with a starved, doped-up monkey. One friend refused to comply during a hunt. Uday shot at him until he agreed. When he awoke, there was no tongue left. Employees claim over 100 people a year died at these gatherings. These parties were appetizers. The real feast of horror awaited on the field of sport. Athletes as experiments, torture in the name of national pride. As head of Iraq's Olympic Committee, Uday turned sport into oppression's laboratory. Athletes who failed to win were forced to crawl across hot pavement embedded with glass, beaten by cables, then dunked in raw sewage. Shara Haidar, a star footballer who escaped to London, recalls, "We were tied, dragged across pavement, flayed, then thrown in sewage, 20 lashes per day for being a star." Ping pong players, volleyball athletes, referees, all suffered. Some were shackled, stripped, flogged, all for losing or even for distracting fans. One referee who refused to fix a match was beaten 3 times daily and dunked in sewage repeatedly. Yet athletes were just a taste. His predatory horror extended to women. Predatory privilege, abductions, rape, and branding. If Uday saw a woman he fancied, at a wedding or walking on the street, she vanished. One bride disappeared mid-ceremony. Her groom later shot himself. Another maid was told to clean up a mutilated girl who had been tortured and burned with acid. Silence or death threatened. Women were branded with hot horseshoes, burned with cigarettes, forced into sexual acts, scarred physically and emotionally. His alleged body double, Latif Yahia, says he witnessed rapes of beauty queens and a deaf girl being murdered. But Uday didn't stop at cruelty. He devised torture like a surgeon. Extreme torture, surgical sadism. Uday clipped a guard's ear, then welded his face with a torch, dismembered tongues, conducted medical tests to confirm kidney failure on one side, half-body beatings until organs collapsed. He locked people in coffin-like boxes studded with nails, used iron maidens and medieval falaka torture, clamping ankles and beating bare souls. He was a student of cruelty, and every victim a lesson. Yet all this remained hidden from any court or judge, torturing those who served him. Abbas al-Janabi, Uday's secretary for 15 years, recounts being tortured for tiny missteps. "They ripped out my tooth with pliers, beat me with electric cables, locked me in nail-studded coffins," he said. Uday was more brutal than any horror movie. Bodyguards were broken for failing to anticipate mood shifts. One was even lowered into a pool of sewage as punishment. But by the 1990s, even Uday's own body was turning against him. Broken body, fractured empire. In 1996, A sniper strike left Uday shot in the neck and spine, forever paralyzed on one side. Doctors describe his left leg as spasming, his toes clawing. He needed nurses just to put on socks. In desperation, he turned to bizarre remedies: acupuncture needles, Chinese herbs, steroids, even suckling milk from postpartum women, believing it would restore his virility. Weak, unstable, yet more dangerous than ever. The avalanche begins, and the fall comes. As Iraq spiraled in 2003, Uday and his brother Qusay fled north. In July, US forces raided a villa in Mosul. After hours of combat, both were dead. Bodies were identified via DNA and dental records. Uday, with a shaved head and full beard, was finally unmasked. His violence ended, but justice never came. Aftermath and final reckoning. No court sentenced Uday, no jury deliberated. His atrocities remain unjudged, preserved only in memory. Let this be a warning. Absolute power unchecked breeds monsters. Now we ask you, should Uday Hussein have faced trial, or did he get what he deserved? Comment below and subscribe for history's darkest tales, told honestly.